Welcome to the Author to Authority podcast. And today I'm excited for this conversation because I think that there has been this misconception since the end of COVID that you can still just let things slide in your business and it's not going to have an effect. Well, I can tell you for sure that if you're not taking care of the leadership side of your business, you're not going to have a business at all. I would love to welcome Claudine Pereira to the show. She's an experienced professional coach and leadership development trainer. She assists people with fundamental behavior change. Her consistent and captivating approach stretches her clients to move beyond a limiting sense of self and achieve their desired personal and professional growth. One of those days. Goals. She's an inspirational speaker, certified life coach, and international best-selling co-author of Live Out Loud. Claudine is very passionate about her work, and she works with small business owners and leaders through coaching, training, and consulting. She brings laser focus and strong structure, allowing them to stand out as confident, proud, and polished professionals. Love that wording, so delicious. With over 25 years of coaching experience and through engaging one-on-one sessions, Claudine's boundless energy, fire, and compassion catapult people's learning experiences into active self-improvement. She not only promotes self-discovery, but instills lasting confidence. Welcome to the show, Claudine.
Thank you, Kim. That's a lot of words that could have turned into a book right there. But thank you for the lovely introduction. And may I just say congratulations on your 400th episode. You are a leader in my book, Miss Author to Authority, and hence why we're talking about this today, because you really emulate everything about leadership in business. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you, Claudine. And audience, if you don't know, Claudine was chosen to be one of the top 25 all-time episodes of the Author
Yes.
to Authority podcast. And that's why we're having her back, because her other episodes have just been amazing. And if you want to know, she's episode 382. So this will be in October that you're listening to this now or beyond. And her episode was back in July, episode 382. So if you want to hear the original, please go on back and listen to it.
382.
Now, I've known Claudine for many years now. We met through a lot of networking meetings, workshops, conferences. I don't know. We just kept meeting everywhere.
Yes, we did. We just kept running into each other and just could not ignore this wonderful, wonderful woman and and everything that you do. So we say we are kindred spirits. Kindred spirits.
Oh, I so agree that is probably the perfect Anna Green Gables term that you could use for this. We're kindred spirits.
We are.
Now, Claudine, it's been a bit since you've been on the show. Why don't you share a little bit of an update about what's been going on in your life? Especially now post-COVID, because the last time you were on, we were in the middle of COVID.
We were, and actually it was interesting when I listened to the podcast over again, and 382, got to listen to it. It's all about how to sell during the pandemic, and everything kind of just still really applies. So fast forward to now, one of the things that my business has done with my entrepreneurs and my leaders is really think about battle proofing their businesses. So that's become sort of like a new piece of the organization in terms of not just planning for the next 60 days or 90 days or the next quarter. We now start to plan for the year ahead and the year after. So we really are thinking more than just today. We're thinking further ahead. So that's been definitely a change since COVID. It's been lovely because I'm back in person at my office, seeing clients in person. However, the one thing that did shift was obviously being able to be hybrid. And I always say there's always a gift in every bad package. And one of the gifts in COVID, and I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, if you're listening today, you'll say is the fact that we can do things remotely and not have to get out of bed for a networking event at 7:30 in the morning and show up. We can be in our pajamas now and dress from the waist up, and we can gain some efficiencies in time. So that's been really nice. I'd say post-COVID, it was a big shift in my business model because I was very much an in-person coach, and now it's been great I've actually done a lot of training for leaders down in the islands. So I did some training at a very famous bank in Guyana. I did some training at an insurance company in Trinidad. It would have been lovely to be in person, but it was during, COVID and post-COVID. So everything was remote. So what a gift we were able to have with being able to do training like that. So lots of things going on here at the Pink Coach, always moving and shifting. And so thanks for having me back again today.
I loved what you said about finding the finding the good in the hard times, because I think we need it as a country, as a nation, to actually shift more into the remote. And everyone was stalling out on doing it because you could get together in person, and now all of a sudden you can't. And the people who could shift. I mean, we were talking just before the show about a couple of clients of yours who weren't willing to make the shifts, and now they don't have a business anymore. So I think, as a leader, you have to be able to shift. You have to be able to pivot. You have to be able to change. I always think about Blockbuster.
Yes, Blockbuster. I know. We all were big Blockbuster fans, and look what happened to Blockbuster.
Yeah, they refused to change. Netflix came in, wiped them out, right?
Exactly. They took over the monopoly, took over the world. So yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the biggest piece, is change is really hard. Robin Sharma says it the best. He says, change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. And I think as human beings, it's true. And it's a great quote that I love. And a lot of you listening to this know I'm big fans of Robin Sharma, but as human beings, we don't want to change. Our brains are not wired to change. It's sort of against our nature, but we have to. And that's one thing I've really learned and encouraged my clients to do post-COVID, is you have to learn to be, the pivot word, but be nimble and be agile and learn how to switch gears when you need to switch gears, and anticipate the future and look ahead as you're planning in your business to go, okay, what are we going to do if the pandemic hits again? There'll be something else later down the road. Are we prepared? So yeah, change is hard.
When you said that quote, the first thing that came to mind was pregnancy.
Oh, right. Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, pregnancy is one thing. And when the child comes along, I remember when I had my daughter 25 years ago, I said to another mum, I said, does this get any easier? She said, no, it just kind of changes. And I remember going inside crying, going, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And that's massive change, right? But you're forced into it. So
I handled being a mom to number one pretty good. But I remember the day I came home from the hospital with number two, my daughter. Yeah. And, my husband was supposed to have the week off work. They kept calling him back in. So the day that I came home from the hospital, he picked me up, brought, myself and Deborah home, dropped us off, had to go back to work. The grandparents came, dropped off number one, left because they had a 2-hour drive home. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm holding number two in my arms. Number one's beside me, having been spoiled for a week. Wonderfully spoiled, not bad spoiled, but wonderfully spoiled by the grandparents for a week. My daughter starts to cry. I start to cry. My son starts to cry because everybody else is crying.
Who else is crying? Just join in the fun. I know.
And finally he stops, and I'm thinking, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And they're now 31 and 29. But at that time, I'm like, I can't do this, right? And my son, he just finally he stops crying, and he's 2, so he can't speak too well. But basically, in his talk, he basically said, "Mama, why we crying?"
Oh, bless him.
And I said, I don't know.
No, you don't know.
And then he looks at me and he says, "Can I go play?" Yeah, life was fine, right?
I can completely relate. And it's interesting that you use this. This is a beautiful analogy to business, because just like a child raising kids, should I say, business changes and ebbs and flows. And I think that's the piece about being agile, that business is not linear. We're going to go through seasons. We're going to go through good seasons and not good seasons. We're going to go through periods of growth and periods of shedding. And it's what you do in those times. And this is why I'm so passionate about leadership, And, one of the first times I did my whole leadership training, someone said, leadership and being in business, what does that have to do with business? And I said, it has everything to do with business, especially now, post-pandemic, where we're seeing a lot of sloppy businesses, a lot of sloppy service, a lot of substandard service. You go to your favorite restaurant or for a coffee and you can just see people are slipping. People are not paying attention anymore. So this is my piece about leadership with everybody, no matter what you do, even if you're not a leader. If you display leadership qualities, everything that you do will stand out a mile.
Yeah, two thoughts on that. I always equate entrepreneurship to a bowl of spaghetti. It twists and turns, it crosses, it goes over, and you have no idea sometimes which direction you're heading in. But
I love that. I'm going to steal that for my next newsletter, the bowl of spaghetti. I love it.
But the other thing is that one of the effects of COVID is people now are not putting up with bad work environments. We see the quiet quitting. And so the level of customer service has dropped because people are not respected. They're not in good work situations. They're not appreciated. So they go in, they do their time. They don't do it with excellence. They do barely enough. Right. And we're seeing the effects of that right across Canada.
Absolutely. And I don't really know why everyone's decided to go. So not everybody, I'm not putting everybody into that same boat, but most people I just see are just willing just to get by. They're not willing to do, the 95% of the hard work to be in the elite 5%. It's just, let's just do what we can just to skim by. And for me, I want better for myself. I want better for my clients. Yes. And I want them to do better for their employees that they are coaching as well, to raise that bar so that we're not playing at 80%, we're playing at 150, right? And that's where the leadership piece comes in. And you got to want to do it. You got to want to own it. I say you got to want to own it and lead it. And actually, Robert Sharma has another beautiful quote. Let me see if I can say this right. And he says that, to get you got to do 95, you got to do the things that 5% of the population won't do. No, you got to do the things that 95% of the population won't do to get the results that 5% of the population have. Right. Yeah. So I love that. And that's the hard work. And so this is where I love to talk about leadership and, being an effective leader and what that can do to your business and sales. Right. Or comes back to my favorite topic, sales.
So, Claudine, I'm going to let you loose for a bit because I know you've got some teaching and training that you want to do. So I'm going to let you loose.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I know, but I trust you. And then we'll talk about it.
Okay. So, all right. So, if you're listening to this, grab a pen, grab a paper, take some notes. I always say there's homework and everything. There's no point. It's lovely to listen to a podcast. And if you're listening to Kim in the car, then go home and rewind at 13 minutes or where we are now and pop a few notes in and set yourself a little action plan about how you're going to lead in business. So I'm going to give you some of the things that I love to do and that I coach my clients to do in terms of, having essential leadership qualities and how they can impact your business and how they can impact your bottom line. So number one, this is the first piece. So write it down. That's what good leaders do. They write it down and then they're going to go share it with the world. Sharing is caring, as my mother-in-law says. So it's about having a clear vision, right? It all starts with the vision. So whether you're a business owner, whether you are a manager listening to this that has employees, whether you are an entrepreneur that has employees, it's all one and the same, right? So we wear many hats, but the most important hat that I feel we should be wearing is the leadership hat. And it starts with the vision. It starts with your vision for your business. What is that? And if you're not sure what that means, you can Google it. You can create, Google how to create a strong vision. But it really starts about your vision in your business and what's in your heart. And effective leaders then will go away and communicate that vision. And you might say, well, I don't have a team. And I would say, well, who else is in your team? You might not have an employee, but as a leader, other people on my team are, for example, the gentleman that does all my web stuff and my, lady that does my social media, my massage therapist, my housekeeper. They form part of my team and they know my vision, so they can help me to succeed. So when you also portray a strong vision, your ideal clients are going to we're going to grasp hold of that. So, everything that you do on social media, your brand, how you show up, what you say and don't say on social media. And I will, this is a whole other podcast, but don't air your dirty laundry on social, keep it professional.
Amen.
Yeah, like, sure, absolutely. Post about your cat, post it, because I do all the time, post about your nice walk. But, typically, if I've got something serious going on in my life, it doesn't end up on social. It'll be the nearest and dearest close to me. People don't want to read about that. Remember, this is your brand. Leadership is also about your brand of how you show up. And what you don't want is, you want your ideal clients to resonate with you and go, oh, I can relate to her. She looks so professional. She knows her stuff. Share success stories, but don't air your dirty laundry. So create a clear vision. Just to sum that up, all of my businesses that have been uber successful through COVID and beyond have had a very strong vision and have always held on to that and have displayed that to their clients and to their employees, and building that brand, and the sales will come from that. So that's the first part. Do you want me to continue? Because I can talk for England, you know that.
I think the only comment I would have on that is, I agree about not airing your dirty laundry, but I think there are times when, I think we can't just post everything positive. Oh, my life is good. My life is great. Right. I think, you don't air your dirty laundry, but by the same token, I think if there are times when you're going through something rough, I do think it's okay to talk about it in a non-victim mentality way.
You know what? I'm so glad that you said that, because yes, you are absolutely right. I think there is a fine line, right? When I say dirty laundry, I've seen people slander other businesses online, or complain because they can't get into their skirt today. That is where I mean, don't air your dirty laundry. But you are absolutely right, because there's a big misconception with social media. A lot of my clients say, well, I see so-and-so on social media, they're doing so great and they look like everything's perfect. And I say, chances are it's not. So yes, I do believe that there is a time to share, but in life skills, one of the things that, we teach is you share for a purpose. You're not sharing just to be, oh, woe me. You're going to share a story to go, here's my journey and here's what I'm dealing with. I want you to learn something from this, so that you can see the risk factors for whatever the case may be. So totally, I'm so happy that you said that. See, this is why we are just the most awesomest pair ever.
Like in 2020, through 2021, I was in and out of emergency having AFib and having serious heart issues, right? And so I didn't hide that from people, but it's like, okay, here's what's going on. Here's the lesson learned. God's showing me I have way too much stress in my life because they're doing all these tests in my heart and can find nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So they basically said stress. So I was able to share with them, okay, I'm going through this. I'm still working my business, but here's how I'm going to restructure my life and my business so that I don't keep ending up in emergency in AFib, right? So like you said, there was a purpose to the sharing, and I was sharing the journey and how I was overcoming it.
And I remember that, and actually, because I didn't see you for a while, and I remember messaging you going, are you okay? And then I saw all of your posts. So again, that's strategic. That's more, there's a fine line between complaining and venting and the woe me and, oh my God, in my business, I'm not making any money, or this, that, and the other, to something strategic like that, to go, then I've had to adapt and, create different things and be nimble in my business and lessen my stress, which is a huge lesson. So this is great. This is really good that you shared that, for sure.
Okay, keep going. Okay. I know you got more.
I'm going to jump to another point, actually, just to sort of piggyback on this, and that's about resiliency, right? So being a leader in business, we need to have a certain amount of resiliency, because people are looking to you, right? Leadership means that someone's going to, whether you have a title or not, they're going to look up to you. There's a certain air about you. There's a certain image that you give off, and so being adaptable and having, resilience, and that just doesn't come in the moment. Like if you're going through a tough time with your health, let's say, you have to build that resilience muscle over time, and that's part of leadership. and applying those strategies to your life so that when a tough time hits or COVID hits, you're going to feel it, but you're going to implement all of your strategies and your leadership capabilities to weather the storm. So Winston Churchill, who was an old Prime Minister of England, and he had a great saying. He says, "Never waste a good crisis."
Yeah.
Right. That was around the wartime. And we went through a war, which is called COVID, and there's going to be upcoming wars. But he said, never waste a good crisis. And there was lots of strategies that he implemented so that you can weather that storm. And again, he's one of my favorite leaders. And so I will just say that about adaptability and resilience. And the other piece to piggyback, I'm going to go backwards now, is really leading by example. And that's the biggest piece of leadership. It's like, you want to portray what you're saying. You don't want to just show up and go, I'm a leader and I'm going to do this. And then someone sees you in public and you're falling over in the street doing something silly, right? It's almost like, and someone says, well, can't I just, I don't want to share my public life. Well, you don't need to, but you are also, as you're an entrepreneur, you're on show. You are on show. Once you decide to be a manager or a leader or an entrepreneur, you are on show, period. And I never forget, I was raised in a Church of England school, and our headmaster, Mr. Nash, every Thursday we would have Eucharist, and we would sing and have mass, and he would always, they would always bring in these people from the church, and he used to say this, "You're on show," and I'd be like, "On show? What does that mean?" This is junior school. I didn't know what that meant, but what he meant was people are watching you. And so that's, people are watching all the time. Everyone says, well, I don't get enough likes. I said, don't look at your likes. Look at the people that reach out to you to say, oh, I see what you're doing. And then take a look back and see that they never liked your social media, but they're watching. So what does that mean?
Claudine, I need to stop you there.
Please cut me right off.
Because,
do it.
Because what you just said there is such a crucial little tip. And I think we need to explore that a little bit more, because as a leader, it is so easy to get sucked into the number of likes, the number of clicks, the number of whatever, right? Yeah. And that's how we gauge our leadership, or that's how we gauge our entrepreneurship, or that's how we gauge our branding, or that's how we gauge how people see us as an authority. But what you just said there, it was golden, because it's not about the likes and the clicks and the whatever. I mean, if that was the case, this podcast would not be running, because, I don't have a strong, huge number of audience. Now, I am very thankful and grateful for all my audience that I have right now, but I don't do the podcast for the numbers. I do the podcast because it's an amazing resource. And I know that, that people are being helped through this. And Absolutely. So, and it's not like I get feedback on the podcast. I'm not at the point yet where people come on social media and tell me how much they like the show or they connect with me. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm talking to crickets, to be perfectly honest. So audience, if you're listening, just come on LinkedIn.
Say something.
Word Ninja Kim. Just give me a little message saying I like your podcast. I mean, that would just completely make my day. But again, it's not about the numbers, right? And you don't know who's watching you in the background.
1,000%. And I think if we hold on to, you're so right. And, there are certain things in business where we need to be looking at the numbers, financial planning, doing our forecasts. And I know you don't like to look at that, but we need to. So numbers count. But with social media, yes, we want to have a good following, but it's one thing having a following, and it's another thing going, looking at those numbers versus the quality of things that you're putting out. And your podcasts do get watched. Like I said to you, that was very powerful when I shared the episode 382 on sales. Plug, go listen. And because I had 25 clicks on my email. So that's when I look at numbers. I go, okay, from my email, I look at my reports to go, who's clicking and when, and what are they clicking on? What do they like? And I'm going to do more of that. And sales has always been a heavy hitter. And lots of people listen to that podcast. And so behind the scenes, you might not hear that or see that on social, but I'm telling you that now that had an impact. And then I was able to sort of spread the word. So don't get hung up on the likes. Just really make the good quality and set that stage that because people do look at that. And so many people say, oh, I love what you're doing. I see you everywhere. So people are watching. And I think that we set that tone, right? We set that tone as a leader in business or a leader as a manager. It's the same thing if you're managing people as an entrepreneur. With a lot of my clients have teams, they're looking at you, right? You need to embody that brand. You need to be that trailblazer, and you need to be empowering them to do better. Right. So that's a whole other piece about, motivating your team and empowering them to want to do a better job so they stay with you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And just popping back to the social media for a second, I think we have to have a different perspective on what social media is. And yes, we just put up a comment. Our favorite digital marketing strategist, Dee Boswell Book. She was also picked as one of the top 25 episodes.
Yeah, I love her. How did she just say hi? I love it. She's saying hi.
Yeah, she just came on the LinkedIn Live. So audience, if you didn't know
hi,
DBB. If you didn't know this, we actually do these episodes live on LinkedIn, and they're usually, you can watch them a month to 2 months before they come out on the podcast. So if you want to see the episodes live in a recording, get a chance to make a comment, who knows, you might just be featured on the podcast. Come on over to LinkedIn, send me a connection request at Word Ninja Kim. Come watch the lives, make some comments, and who knows, we just might feature you on the podcast as well.
And I love it. And I'm like technology. And that's what I love you. You are a trailblazer, and you are a leader in what you're doing. And you're not settling with author to authority. Every year that goes by, you're taking things to new levels. That's leadership. And the fact that Dee has come on, and Dee and I, dear friend of mine, and we worked together for many, many years, and I helped her to grow her business. And when you look at Dee, she is, when we think about leadership, she's a true leader. She created a vision for, her role as a digital marketing strategist. Business has chopped and changed over the years. She was able to build her business and quit her day job and do way better with what she's doing right now. And that's because she started with a vision. She is a leader. She shows up online, polished, professional, and she's like all of us, we have our days, but she is that visionary. She's creating that for her audience and her team that works with her. So kudos. She's amazing. I love her.
Just because she came on, we'll give Dee a little shout out as well. So Dee was also featured as one of the top 25 episodes. So her episode is 387. And we already recorded her newest episode, which would have aired on September 29th. So, please make sure that you check out Dee as well, Dee Boswell Buck on LinkedIn. And she is also a treasured member of the Author to Authority podcast community. But I do want to go back to the social media for just 1 second, because I think one of the concepts that entrepreneurs have is that they use social media to sell. And I'm not saying you can't sell on social media, but to me, social media is about social proof. Because when you are Googled, and I don't know whether most people realize this or not, but if you have a LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn has a lot of credibility. So generally, if you're Googled, LinkedIn is the first social media that's shown.
That's right.
So if you're an entrepreneur and you do not have a strong LinkedIn profile and some content on there, you are missing out, because when people check you when there's nothing on LinkedIn, guess what they're going to think about you. So I'm not saying you have to be on LinkedIn all the time, but at least once a week or so. And have a strong profile.
1,000%. I cannot stress enough how important LinkedIn is out of all of the platforms when you are in business. And it drives me crazy. Sometimes people say, well, I didn't get a sale. I'm all over social media and no one bought from me. And I turn it around and say, well, think about how you buy. Would you buy from somebody that is a stranger advertising on LinkedIn? or social? Probably not, but you're going to follow them. And then maybe if someone sends you a referral, or you look at a Google review, then you might buy from them. But a stranger has never, ever, in 9 years of me being in business, has never said, oh, I saw your Instagram post, can we coach? No, it's always come from somebody like a referral or Google or somebody, the know, like, and trust factor. And really, the social presence in LinkedIn is gravy. So that when someone goes to research me, and if you're, looking to hire someone for business, you're going to go everywhere and research. And if you don't have a strong profile or a consistent profile that, you show up, especially LinkedIn, trust me, I've looked up so many people that have wanted to do business and I don't see them on LinkedIn. I don't see they have a following. I don't see they have a picture or a bio. They're going on the no pile.
Yeah.
So that's a homework. Get your LinkedIn. If you don't know how to do it, someone like Dee, or there's lots of people out there that can help you to create those things. It is a piece of, when I work with entrepreneurs, it's a piece of what we do. We always look at LinkedIn. So thanks for bringing that up. I love it.
Yeah. And I think that that's part of the leadership too, is that, especially like we were talking about before the show, is the fact that, if you are a leader of a small business, small team, solopreneur, consultant, professional, those types of things, part of your leadership is letting the world see who you are. You're the brand of the business.
That's right. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, in terms of RTI Publishing, I'm Kim Thompson-Pinder, the extraordinary word ninja. I'm the chief visionary officer of RTI Publishing. RTI Publishing is the company. The extraordinary word ninja is my brand. And then the brand of the company is author to authority, right? But all three of those pieces work together to create a cohesive unit so that when people, are checking out the company,
oh, you've lost I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. You're back. Back in the room.
This is the second time this has happened. I'm going to have to check that out, that
technical
the mic
glitches.
lost connection. This is one of the joys of podcasts and technology.
I know. We got to love it. Gotta love it. So, so I mean, it's what where were we? We were talking about your brand, your business model, but you are the face of that business. And so, that you wear that brand, you wear that, you are only as good as the last compliment someone gave for your company, right? So even,
well, then I'm great. You gave me lots of compliments.
You're amazing. You're amazing. And this is what people fail to, and this is where the leader, again, I can't, stress enough about leadership and creating that leadership, and whatever that looks like for you. There's lots of different things. Leadership is like a spaghetti, because there's many different types of leadership, that you can dig into, and you got to kind of make it your own, right? But I wanted to say, if you just think about owning it and leading it, own it and lead it, and and connect with people on an emotional level. That's what people are looking for these days. When I asked my clients, like, what is it that attracted you to me? They said, well, actually, someone said this yesterday. I started with a new client yesterday, actually. She, interestingly enough, I attract a lot of Christian clients. I don't go out and go in, hey, I'm a Christian coach. But something about me in my, delivery or in my leadership style screams something that people are attracted to. So 80% of my client base are believers. So this young girl I started with yesterday, actually, she's an ordained she's a minister. She's an ordained priest, young girl, and does chaplain work. She's amazing, starting her sort of side gig. And she said to me, we were leaving at the same time. So we went down in the lift together, the elevator. And she says, there's just something about you. And I said, what is that? She says, I don't know, but you're so like, when you're polished, you're professional, you're strategic with me, but I really feel that you love me. But then there's that professional boundary. And I go, okay, like then I kind of go away and reflect on that, going, then I'm doing my job. I'm doing my job as a leader. I'm not sloppy. I'm professional. I'm still holding you with love, and I'm giving you my strategies. And so this is emotional intelligence. And this is a whole, again, that's a whole other piece. But if you look up emotional intelligence, that's what people in general are looking for. They want you to connect with them on an emotional level, most people. And you will have I have long lasting relationships with a lot of my clients that have been with me for a very long time, because I connect with them on that level. That's part of my leadership brand. That's part of my leadership style. And that's what I love to do. Right. And that's how, I like to be transparent. That's how I get credibility in what I do. This is just how I do things. So.
Well, I've known you for a long time. I could not agree more with your self-assessment, Claudine, because you do. You have this, air of leadership and authority, but yet at the same time, you are approachable, and it's very easy to see that you care.
Thank you.
And I think that's
I really do.
I think in today's world, it's something that is so lacking, is the caring factor.
Yeah.
And most people don't, like, entrepreneurs don't realize if their customers and clients knew how much they cared about them, they don't leave.
They won't. And even if they leave, they'll come back. One of the biggest, I always say to my husband, one of the biggest honors for me is and the humbling moment is when a client leaves, they take a hiatus to go do something else, which is fine, but they come back. I could run some stats on the number of returning clients I've had, and it's probably higher than the amount of new business I've gotten from a stranger. It's the highest compliment that I could ever, obviously, yes, I love what I do and I pride myself in being good at what I do, but also too, you want to have that lasting impact on people. And that's got to come from the heart. And some people are just not cut out for it, and that's fine. But then maybe entrepreneurship is just not for you. And I think now as we go into 2024 and 25, and this is your homework for those of you guys that were good and taking some notes, it's about you've got to create that lasting impact. You want to embrace leadership, however you want it to be seen. And you build that brand that is going to, stand that test of time. Like my brand stood the test of time with COVID. A lot of my clients that made COVID, they had that strong brand, and they pivoted, and they were agile, and they were nimble, and they embraced leadership, and they embraced change and doing things differently. Right. And again, there's a million different exercises I do with my clients that can lead you to all of those things and help you. But I would say if you had to sort of pick one, because everyone said, well, I got to sell. If you just lead and you do it authentically, you will sell. You can sell an ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we are already
we have to
over
wrap
time.
up. Yes.
We
Always
could
so
keep
much fun
going
with you, my dear.
Now, just one comment on what you said, and then we'll close out. I think that, if you are an introvert, you're not really have the people skills. It's not that you can't be an entrepreneur, but you might not be the face of the company. I think that if you can bring in someone who can be the face, who can be the kindness, be the caring, it's not that you can't be an entrepreneur. I think you just have to do it differently. So anyway, in about 30 seconds, Claudine, if people have enjoyed this episode, how can they connect with you?
Yes. So after you've taken all your notes and your homework, connect with me on LinkedIn. So get your LinkedIn profile up to snuff and find me on LinkedIn under Claudine Pereira. I'm also on Instagram under the Claudine Pereira or the Pink Coach. If you just Google the Pink Coach, you'll find me on your favorite social media platform. And if you don't like social media, you can call me. And if you don't like the phone, you can email me on my website, thepinkcoach.com. And let's stay connected. Sign up for my newsletter. You can sign up for my newsletter. It goes out once a month. It's called The Pink Paper. And if you sign up, you'll get a complimentary PDF all about sales. There you go. Our favorite topic.
Awesome.
Done.
This has been Claudine Pereira and Kim Thompson-Pinder on the Author to Authority podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the very next episode. Bye now.